And we're live.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
Sorry for being a little bit late there. We are starting now, and oh my goodness, all the chat's blowing up.
Holy cow.
So we have our panelists here. I'm Carmen from HiMama, and Sam, if you could just wave. We
Hi.
have Sam on the bottom there. She is our customer success manager, and I'm going to introduce our panelists really quickly. Anna, if you can put your hand up. And then we have Marnie.
Hi.
And then we have Evelyn.
Hi.
So I'm going to start the slideshow right now, you guys, and we can kick things off here. So welcome everyone to the HiMama Helps Q&A panel. We are basically going to be talking about everything COVID-19 related today. And we have 3 of our amazing customers who are logging on to kind of share their tips and tricks with you in a Q&A style panel. And I just wanted to go over some webinar etiquette because we have 820 of you guys logged on and actually 1,800 people who registered. So we're expecting people to be ducking in and out of this. And this is an unprecedented number of people that we've had on our webinar. So if you have a question, use the chat, and if you could flag it as a question, that would be really helpful for me, so I can make a note of it and then flip it to the panelists, as well as the session will be recorded and sent to everyone after. So if you missed something, don't worry about it. Just check your inbox at the end of today, and there will be a blog post as well as a recording set up for that. And we just wanted to get a sense of who's in the crowd. So I'm going to put out a quick poll, like where you guys can tell us about you. So let me know, you guys, what your role is at your childcare center. Are you a director and an owner, or a teacher, an educator, or a coach? And that's going to come up in the chat. So if you can hit that, I'll share that with everyone. Oh, is that? We're having some technical difficulties here. If you can just type it in the chat, that would be great. And we can kind of see who's in the crowd here. Sorry, you guys. And thanks for bearing with us. We've never had so many people log on at the same time. So the technology might be a bit glitchy, and we really appreciate it if you guys bear with us. And if you can't hear us, just try exiting the screen and logging on again and making sure that you're using your computer audio.
So it looks like Carmen's having a bit of technical difficulties. She's just going to try and log him back in. Okay, so while we wait for Carmen to be able to rejoin us with the meeting, I'm going to go ahead and start off. I'm going to give a little bit of an intro for me. So thanks so much, everyone, for joining us. Obviously, this is a very hot button topic that we'll be covering today. And I'm so excited to be joined by this awesome lineup of panelists. To give some quick context about me, what I do, why I'm here, I'm a success manager here on the HiMama success team, and I absolutely love what I do. Every childcare business who joins with HiMama is assigned their own success manager to give them a hand, in any way they might need with the platform, meaning that I get the pleasure of working with hundreds of ECEs across North America and internationally, including many of these inspiring educators, such as our panelists. So I guess without further ado, I'm going to start off with having our panelists introduce themselves one by one. So let's start off with Marnie. Marnie, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Hoping to share good news and a message of hope today to all the providers. Wow. I am the CEO and founder of Young Innovators here in Florida.
That's amazing. Perfect. So Evelyn, maybe give us a quick introduction for you too, what your company is called.
Sure. I own Zoo and Around Preschool in Nevada. And I also own a business called Childcare Business Professionals, where I just help support other childcare business professionals achieve their goals and their dreams.
I love it. And finally, Anna.
Hi. So I am the program manager and head teacher at the Buffalo Zoo Preschool. I manage the program. We have a lot of education programs in the Buffalo Zoo, so one of them is preschool. And I'm also serve as an adjunct faculty at Buffalo State College here in Buffalo, New York.
That's amazing. Okay, and now that we have some quick context as to our amazing panelists, let's get the ball rolling right away, and Carmen can just join us when she's able to log back in. So the topics that we're going to cover today, we're going to get creative with business operations. We're going to do prioritizing community and connection. And we're going to talk about engaging families remotely as well. So let's get into it. We're going to start with Marnie today. So Marnie, thanks for that quick introduction. Much appreciated. So for those who haven't already heard it, actually, Marnie did a wonderful podcast with our CEO, Ron, not too long ago on the topic of innovative business models to retain childcare staff. And I found that pretty interesting, actually. It was a really great listen, so I highly recommend it. Now, Marnie, why don't we start off by telling a bit about your entrepreneurial approach to running your childcare business, a bit about yourself and your background, a little bit more in depth than we just went into in the initial hi, hello.
So I've been in the child care industry for many years. I started out as a franchisee of a brand. I transitioned in becoming an independent provider, and I later became a franchisor in the industry. But I was concerned about the retention and the turnover of staffs in that business model. So I recently sold my centers, and I started again with Young Innovators. So the first thing I wanted to do was I wanted to bring a fresh perspective and put the end user, the teachers and the families first. So I created an ESOP, which is an employee-owned company. And that kind of changed, that rolled out last year, and it changed the culture of our team. And that's kind of one of the things that is helping us navigate this uncertain times.
That's amazing. I love to hear that. For your center right now, are you guys currently open or are you closed?
So we're open right now for families, but the fact is that business activity and the enrollment is in decline. So that is everywhere across the country if centers are allowed to still be open. That's the reality.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
If you can maybe give some context too about where you guys are located for our listeners.
So we're located in Oviedo, Florida. Is a wonderful community. That's where our lab school is. And we were about to launch a platform to serve as the front end of services to connect providers when all this happened. Our platform was going to launch now in May. So that's kind of on hold until all this, until we see what's going to happen in the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes a lot of sense. From what I understand too about your business, you guys have multiple locations in different states, or at least you did. How have you been approaching your decision-making process?
So everything goes back to our values. So our strategy is based on our principles and guiding values that we've always had. But the first thing we needed to understand was the financial impact that we were going to have. So we wanted to be proactive, and we sent a letter to the parents before they started disenrolling and asked them to consider paying a holding fee, explaining them that the livelihood of our teachers depended on this because we're tuition based. And we had a really good response from our community. And pretty much like we still bill probably 70% of what we were before. So once we had that information, then we were ready to actually design the strategy based on the values. So for us, the most important thing was to take care of our teachers during this uncertain times. We didn't want them to go into unemployment, especially with what's going on here in the United States, where you have like an exorbitant number of unemployment claims being filed. So once we knew that, then we were ready to build our financial projections based on what our parents were committing to doing. And then we started calling all our vendors, and we called the banks and asked them for waivers for the loans. We cut all non-essential spending. We put large projects on hold. We also applied for the large special emergency funding from the SBA. We had a good cash reserve, so that hopefully will get us go through the process and until everything goes, because it will go down at some point, hopefully very soon.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a lot of really great proactive measures you guys are taking. And in terms of staffing specifically, how would you say that it's impacted your company in terms of staffing? And also, if you could tell us what you've done with your bus driver as well. I thought that was
So, during the time of crisis, we can't focus on what's going on at that moment because we freeze, right? So that's the decision that we made really early on in our team. We wanted to provide value, and that became our mission. So we wanted to provide value not only to our workers and our teachers, but also to our community of early childhood professionals, to providers across the country and in the world that would need it, that would need an inspiring message. So we transformed our school into a big TV studio. And because we didn't have as many kids now, and we still had our staff on payroll, so we reinvented ourselves. So I had experience on TV, so I pulled my previous experience and I turned the school into a TV studio, and we're professionally recording 2 shows, one Spanish and one in English. So I kind of transitioned my staff into being teachers, to on-camera roles, customer support roles, and even social media. And I was sharing with you guys yesterday that we did this based on each staff member's strength. So for example, our bus driver is now our social media driver. She's awesome at that. She's great.
Yeah, I love this.
So I think during the periods of uncertainty, that's what you can do. You have to reinvent yourself. You have to keep positive, and you have to try to protect as many jobs as you can. Also, other funny stories, our teachers are now on online talent, and everybody is able to view their shows. They're doing an awesome job. The first day they were very, very nervous because they had never done this before, but we're like, that's okay. You guys are doing an awesome job. So some of them are writing curriculum that comes with the TV show that we're producing. So pretty much we reinvented ourselves and turned our school into a new business, and it keeps us focused on the mission.
That is so inspiring. I love that story. Super cool. I know that you had mentioned that your staff members are adopting this whole new kind of skill set now, which is really interesting and very creative and innovative as well, I may add. So staff engagement is a big priority for you. How are you keeping your team, I guess, positive and strong throughout this, especially as all these new challenges are being thrown their way, their jobs are kind of shifting a bit? How do you navigate that?
Well, first, I think everybody's very grateful and excited that they still have a job, right? It's just, it's a different job, right? Yeah. And as some of our staff transition to working from home, we host meetings like this one every morning via Zoom. And we start with like asking ourselves, how do we feel? And remind ourselves of the purpose. Like our purpose now is, how can we help somebody else? How can we help another provider navigate through this? How can we help our parents, our community? When we focus on giving, then you're ready to bring hope to your community.
It's amazing. I love these answers. This is fantastic. Great pick me up today. Now switching gears a bit, I guess, or maybe on the same gear, communication with parents is a challenge for many centers. I know you guys are doing some great interactive live stuff with them. How would you recommend to other business owners or other ECEs to kind of communicate with parents in this time? I know it's very challenging.
Right. So the first thing is that we have to be in the right set of mind before we actually offer services, right, to the parents. So the first thing is be honest with your families. That would be the first thing. Ask for a holding fee when you're missing something. Ask them. Then the other thing is share tips and resources with the families. For example, HiMama is creating amazing content. And we're sharing that with the parents. Like also our content that we're producing is available for other providers as well, because we want to help you guys. Sorry, I am trying to, my computer's going to die, so I'm trying to plug my computer. This is live TV, right? So another thing is that as I was mentioning, HiMama is creating wonderful resources that you can use, share resources from other providers. Our content is available for everyone that wants to share it too. If we see great content from other providers too, we're sharing that with our families, because I think this is the time where our parents really need our help. They're struggling and trying to figure out how to work from home with preschoolers, and that's pretty challenging, as we know. Yeah. So what we designed for them is a whole program that has lesson plans that we make them watch the TV show every morning, and then throughout the days they have these really engaging activities that go along with the show. And then at the end of the day, we host the Zoom meetings with their teachers. And so there is very exciting for them, because it's kind of like we're providing a structure, a little home schedule for the parents, a little how-to videos of things that they can be doing at home to keep the children engaged and keep the learning going while they're at home. And then the other suggestion that I would give is assign a person from your team to connect with your parents. One of our staff members, Ms. Kylie, she's responsible for connecting with our families and contacting them and serving as a resource to the parents in anything that they would need.
Mm-hmm. That's really cool. Assigning that kind of lead communicator is a great way to get around that. So finally, I guess, parting words here. As we all know, a lot of ECEs and center owners are really impacted by COVID-19, such as why we're here today. Could you share some words of encouragement with the audience during these times?
So I believe our community has a huge role to play during the crisis, and especially sending a hope to parents and to our communities, and providing structure and consistency to protect our little ones from what's going on outside. So if we focus on the challenges solely, we can't focus on the purpose and why we're all in this career. We're here to make the lives of children better. So I suggest, I know that's very easy to say because we all have to pay bills like that, but all that, we will figure all that out. We will come out stronger after this. So, but if we shift our focus from the challenges to servicing our community and our parents, we will not only add values to our families, but give purposes to our teachers and to ourselves. So we will come back from this, and we'll come back stronger, but we all need to work together and share and work for one purpose, to bring this industry back.
That's amazing. Thank you for that. So next, we're going to move to some questions from the audience for Marnie, if that works for you, Marnie.
Of course.
Perfect. So here's one right away. So how much do you charge for a holding fee compared to your normal tuition rates? What percentage?
50%. But
50%.
Some of our parents were so giving and grateful that they're even paying 100%, even if the children are not attending the center.
Wow, that's really good of them. Amazing. Let's see, let's check out some other questions here from the audience. Oh, hi, Carmen. You might want to turn on the audio.
Been collecting some questions from the audience and have one that's really interesting here. Like, so Michelle says in her country, like all preschools are closed mandatorily. How can you keep parents engaged and updated, and what's the best way to communicate?
So I think the best way is, well, assigning that person, that communication person, to call them and conduct healthy checkups with our parents too. And then also invite them to call you if they have or they need a resource. I think that's the role we're playing in our communities at the moment, providing the resources that they need, engaging them. That's how we design our program, like that is comprehensive, and they can actually, like, they have a structure throughout the day. So they can communicate via different ways, but either phone or social media, or referring them to other links, or providing that service and being that stability and consistency that the children need during this time, even if you're close.
And we have a question regarding how do you practice social distancing if you're open? Do you have any advice on that front, Marnie?
Yes, well, so we are practicing, that is very hard for preschoolers to practice, but we keep our ratios very small. So we're right now, CDC recommends 10 children in one classroom. We actually have smaller groups of 5 children and 1 teacher. So our team has divided. So as I explained in the beginning, some of them are doing new jobs, like the bus driver is the social media. If you will try to connect with us, she will be the one answering everything. And so we keep our ratios low, and the reason we decided to stay open is because in our state, we're in Florida, we're not mandating to close. We're considered essential, and a lot of our parents needed the service to keep their jobs. So that's why we decided to offer that support to our families.
Awesome. And I love how creative you're getting with your staffing, Marnie, and really prioritizing keeping them on board. And one more question from Julia, who is coming from the not-for-profit side. She's saying that they can't afford everything that you're doing, especially producing the resources. Mm-hmm. Do you have any suggestions for them? They're ordered to shut down, so they're thinking of working remotely. What can they do to keep, the learning going?
Well, so one thing is the HiMama resources are great. So that's a way to keep them, or everybody in this community is welcome to use our resources. You can go to and share our resources, share the link, and they can watch a professional TV show the children and have access to a program. I think during this stage, that's our opportunity. We just had the very specific skills to produce something like this. And the training, we had people from television in our staff and editing. And so we have the infrastructure, and we understand that might be difficult to replicate, but we didn't do this only for ourselves. Our vision is to share. Anybody that needs it right now can share our resources and can implement our own program. We have no problem sharing what we've created with the community.
Awesome. So we're going to move on to Evelyn now, just in the interest of time here, and we'll have an open Q&A at the end of the session where all the panelists can kind of jump in after. So over to you, Sam and Evelyn, and thanks so much, Marnie, for your input here. It's been awesome.
Yeah, it was fantastic. And just a heads up for the people in the audience who might be curious about the resources, HiMama resources. Our in-house ECEs have put together a pretty interesting database. New things are coming out every day. You can navigate to the dashboard, click on COVID resources, and you can send out a brand new ECE activity for parents to continue the developmental work for their kids every day. Highly recommend taking advantage of it. It's pretty cool. So let's bop into Evelyn. How are you today?
I'm doing good. How are you guys?
I'm great. Thanks.
Good.
Really appreciate you joining us. So let's start off with a more in-depth introduction here about who you are and what you do, both as a center owner and as a coach.
Okay. Again, my name is Evelyn Knight. I am the owner and founder of Zoo and Around Preschool in Nevada. We're up in northern Nevada, right outside of Reno. And I started in ECE when I was very young. I was actually still in high school. So I've pretty much worked every position in the early childhood field. I've even been a cook at a center. I've been a driver. So my story is a lot like Marnie's. I was actually working for corporate preschool and I really just didn't like the corporate model. So decided to open my own and start my own for a lot of the same reasons. The employee retention, the way a lot of times employees were treated, I wasn't too happy about. And also I really wanted to prioritize the children and not the money. And so by opening my own, I was able to create my own program where I prioritized my staff and families. Very recently, I started Childcare Business Professionals. And what my goal is just to help other owners find, and directors also, just find the success that I've been able to find. I've been through a lot. I've almost gone bankrupt once and been able to build myself back up. I've been through something similar where the town I live in was flooded and we lost over 50% of our enrollment overnight. And I had to just reinvent myself and build back up. And so during this time, I've just taken the opportunity to try and bring hope to people and just trying to let them know that just because something like this isn't happening does not mean it's going to take us down. It doesn't have to. It's really just about what we're willing to do. So I also have a podcast too that I put out just to, again, send that message that there is hope. Even during good times, owning a childcare center can be really, really difficult. And a lot of times we are teachers and directors who become owners, and we're not business people, and we have to make that transition.
Mm-hmm.
So learning how to make that transition, and even as the director, from teacher to director or director to owner, it can be really difficult. And I see a lot of owners who really, really struggle with this, and directors. And so just helping them understand the business ends of things is really important in order to gain success in being an owner or a director.
That's awesome. And going back to the podcast point, so Evelyn very recently did a podcast with our CEO on the topic of COVID-19 and how to push your childcare business through it. It is a great listen for those of you who may not have heard it already. So Evelyn, after listening to your podcast, I really enjoyed your motivational and positive approach in kind of tackling the situation that our community's found itself in. So moving forward, I guess, to give our listeners some context, why don't you tell us about your center in terms of where it's located, if it's open, things like that.
Yes, I am in northern Nevada. We are right outside of Reno. Most of my families work within the Reno area, so it's been pretty difficult. I am open also. We have been designated essential, and I'll tell you, I really worked hard. I got myself on the local news and different things just to make sure I had my voice heard as an owner, that we need to be essential. the NAEYC came out with a study last week or the week before that was stating that with the current crisis, 70% of centers will not be able to make it through this.
Wow.
And yes, it's so that is why I just decided, we really need to advocate for ourselves. And that goes to the mindset. So I am open, but my enrollment is down by over 60%. And like Marnie, I'm doing very similar things. We have taken our program and law online also. And what I would say to everybody who's worried about not having the tools, it does not need to be as complicated as we think it needs to be. We are literally just using our cell phones and going on Facebook Live. We have a private group that we just created for each one of our classrooms. And I'm just having the teachers do a Facebook Live. So you can just literally open up your cell phone, maybe have somebody hold it or get a tripod for it, and just have your teachers do the normal circle time routines that they do. That way we can still be providing services for our families. And we're still keeping them connected even though they're not here. So it's just a way that, I think a lot of owners and directors overcomplicate it. They think they need the cameras and the lights and they really don't. What we really just need is to connect with the children. That's it. Just so they can see their teachers and they can have conversations.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, really taking that parent communication into your own hands and using the tools that you have available is key. Absolutely.
Yes.
And how have you found, I guess, that your families at your center have been responding to the crisis so far?
My families have been wonderful also. They are really open. And I have to say, from talking to many owners, one of the things I've really learned about this is when you have good relationships with your families before all of this, that it's so important to establish relationships and to have those open lines of communication. Because now that we're in the middle of this kind of a situation, the families want to help us. They really want to be there for us. So I have the same basic policy that Marnie was talking about. 50% of tuition we're asking for. I have created a hardship form for my families that have lost their jobs that they can fill out if they are experiencing hardship. And most of my families are pretty much reacting the same. They're just paying full price anyway. And they have really come to me and just told me how much they appreciate us. And a lot of them, their income has not changed. So they said, if our income hasn't changed, we're going to pay you the same amount of money. But for those who have lost their job, those I am being really lenient with. I do just have them fill out a very, very simple form. And I do have them, I'm waiving their tuition. So I've taken a proactive approach also, and I have actually also applied for the SBA just in case, because we really don't know how long this is going to last. But I know a lot of owners that I talk to are really apprehensive about charging because they feel like they're not providing a service. So taking your center online or even just sending emails, like the HiMama is putting those wonderful activities out, send those to your parents. You're still providing a service. And that way you can continue to have that income coming in.
That's a great answer. I know in the previous podcast you talked about providing value to parents so that even though providing value to parents in the time that some people are unemployed, at the time that you don't actually have these kids right in front of you, different unique ways to provide that value. So I know you said you do Facebook Live. What are some other suggestions that you would give to centers to maintain that engagement with parents and keep creating that value?
Well, what I would really look at is, and I think this also goes to mindset. We have to change how we think. You really have to consciously take control of how you're looking at what's happening around you and completely shift your mindset. What we want to look for are the gaps. And every one of our communities right now has a gap that we can fill. So if you approach it as looking for the gaps in your community when it comes to your target age range, and then figuring out a way to fill that gap. I know Ron had told me a story about one center that was actually delivering food to the families And so that's a great way that center found a gap that needed to be filled. So think outside of the box. It doesn't have to be online. It doesn't have to be food delivery. What other gaps are you seeing that you can fill? So if you really just sit down with pen and paper and just look at your community as a whole, go on different forums that your community engages in, look for the issues, take some notes, you will find gaps that you can fill.
Absolutely. And in terms of the actual virus itself, so for centers servicing essential workers like yours, what if an employee is concerned about exposure? And what kind of options do they have to maintain their job and their financial security among all that?
So I have actually had to deal with that. I did go to my staff and I told them I don't want them to work if they feel unsafe. One of my biggest priorities always is to take care of my staff. So I did approach them and I told them, if you're not comfortable, let me know. I don't want them to work if they aren't comfortable. So I did have quite a few that did come to me and tell me that they have high risk issues or their children do. So at this time, a lot of my staff actually did choose to get laid off instead of continuing to work. So I really left it up to them and gave them the choice. And so with my enrollment being down, it didn't affect me, but I'm right on the cusp. So what I have done is I have actually reached out to some of the other nonprofits and school teachers that are not working right now. And I've gotten ready to have substitutes, because that is something really important we need to be ready for just in case. So I've just got them through the vetting process and everything just to make sure that I'm prepared in case more of my staff wants to take me up on the layoff offer, or in case they do start getting sick. So it's something also that we really need to take into account.
Yeah, that's so important. For listeners at home right now who are really feeling kind of the pressure of the times, how can our childcare professionals protect their attitude during these challenging times, to find an them to lean in, like you always say?
Absolutely. We need to lean in for sure. And I'm doing daily Facebook lives right now on my Facebook page, and you can just find it at the Child Care Business Coach. And the reason I'm doing that is just to bring something positive. If you're going through your social media or watching the news all day, you are going to be so bogged down with negativity that you really have to intentionally seek out the positive right now. And one of the things I keep telling everybody is limit your time on social media, put a timer on it every day. Literally set a timer when you open up any of your social media platforms and only allow yourself maybe 30 minutes at a time. And same thing with the news. Limit your exposure to all this negativity because it is overwhelming. And also seek out positive avenues. If you listen to podcasts, find positive podcasts. Make sure you're listening to at least one a day. Find other people who are doing things similar to me that are trying to bring that positive guidance instead of the negativity. And when first thing in the morning when you wake up, find something positive to put yourself into that mindset. It's so important to control your mindset right now and be intentional about it. If we really let our minds just run wild right now and don't intentionally control it, we will be so overwhelmed. And if you're feeling overwhelmed right now and you're feeling like this is just too big for me to handle, you really need to just get control of your mindset and find the positive, look for the blessings. Can you guys hear me? Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, just finding those positive blessings, looking for it. I know right now life seems so overwhelming, but there is blessings in everything we have.
Evelyn, I'm sorry, you did freeze up on us for the last part of what you were telling us. Would you mind just repeating that bit?
Sure. What part did I leave off on?
Yeah, I think the last bit we heard was last bit I remember is positive podcasts, making sure we stay on top of positive news, moving forward from that.
Okay, yeah, I think it's just really, really important for us to surround ourselves with positive people and intentionally in the morning when you wake up,
Mhm.
Find something positive to listen to read. I start my day in a devotion time just to focus my mind on what I need to focus on. And also just really take control of your mindset. Mindset is so important, and we need to be intentional right now about just what we're thinking and how we're thinking. If you find yourself,
Yeah.
notice those thoughts that are going through your head. And when you find that negativity and the hopeless thoughts, tell yourself, no, I am not going to allow this.
Mhm.
I'm going to do what I need to do to make it through, and I'm not going to allow this negative self-talk. And just really being conscious a lot of times helps us out on just finding those ways. And also just look for the blessings in your life. We always, no matter what's happening, there is always a blessing in our life, even if it's within your family or even just your pets. Look and focus on those blessings, because there's always, no matter what, there's always something to be thankful for.
Absolutely. I had a friend tell me recently about a positivity journal that she keeps, and every day she writes 1 to 3 things that made her smile that day. So I love that advice. That's great advice. Yeah, I guess we're going to take some Q&A from the audience now. So a summary of questions from a variety of people. The entire country is under quarantine, and they've not said until when. How do we decide what our next steps should be in all this uncertainty?
So I have actually created a strategic plan that I have shared with my audience, and it really spells out step by step what we need to do and when. And I think that is really important that also is important to help control your mindset, is coming up with a plan. That way, if you can come up with a plan, it really will help you to feel more in control. But we do need to project for that. We need to project, what if they do keep us closed till June or July? Then how are we going to deal with this? How can we pivot and change our business models or whatever we need to do in order to survive this? And sit down over the weekend with pen and paper and take all your what ifs, including that one with the longevity, and write, okay, if we are forced to close to July, how am I going to deal with this? Go through your financials and pick them apart. And how long can you sustain? How much do you have to charge your parents in order to survive? And you guys be honest with your parents. Really just, once you figure out that financial piece, really be honest with your parents and tell them, look, I cannot go under 50% or 20% if we want to keep our doors open. But have those projections. And I do suggest start applying for the SBA loan, even a line of credit. Even if you're not going to use it, it's good to have it just in case.
Absolutely. Taking a next question here from the audience. Tina asks, if you're making parents stand by the parent, are you making parents stand by the parent handbook or contract and having them pay when a child's not at the center due to COVID? I know you'd mentioned the sliding scale. Maybe going into more details about what that would look like for someone who's never approached that before.
Okay, so I am holding my parents to their contract in that, but I'm not holding them to it at 100%. I am also doing a 50% tuition that I'm charging parents, the same thing. So if the parents' income has not changed at all, I'm charging 50% of their tuition if they choose to keep their child away from the center. If the child is in attendance, it's the same. That hasn't changed. Now, for job losses, what I've done is I created a very simple form that literally just asks name, address, and then I ask the parent, what can you afford to pay? And that's pretty much how I'm basing it, really. I'm not, and I do ask them, though, for proof to make sure that they really were laid off or that something is really happening. So I really don't have a set like 20, 30% scale. And I'll clarify that from what I said earlier. But what I am doing is just asking them, what can you afford? And my parents have been wonderful about that. A lot of them are, saying $50 a week, $100 a week, whatever. But I actually haven't had anybody ask for 100% of their tuition to be paid for. So now, when I was talking about the sliding scale, what I was referring to on that is more, if we have to go into June or July, know what your break-even point is. If your doors are shut and you know that in order just to pay the bare minimum bills to keep you in business, you need to take in 20%. That's just something on a case by case basis that every owner is going to have to figure out based on their financials.
Great answer. Mika wants to know, for the centers who are closed right now, how do we transition everyone back into the centers? I assume she means the parents to go back to the centers as well. And what are ways that staff can mentally prepare themselves? Because many, you know, will have been working from home for a long time. It's going to be a big adjustment. What would you recommend?
So I would recommend, we're probably going to have to set up a launch date for sure. And that's part of my plan. I do have a launch date where I'm expecting everybody to be back when my state is releasing the closure around our state. And one of the things I'm doing is I am going on Facebook Live. I've created an employee group, which I've had for a couple of years, for just my staff. And it's and you can do this with Slack. It doesn't have to be Facebook. It's just easy with Facebook, but you could do this with any platform, really. And so what we're doing is I'm doing live video because I want them to hear from me. If I don't have time, every day I'm communicating in some way with my staff so that they're staying in that mental work mode. And I'm trying to give them, as of now, this is the date that it looks like everybody will be back. I've also invited them to do a lot of the like video sessions that we were talking about, the ones that have chosen to be home, if they want. It's up to them since they've chosen to be laid off, if they want to participate or not. But keeping them involved in work is really, really important. You don't want your staff who's been gone for a month to be totally detached. So even if you are sending, and that's why I really like to do the live video, because they're seeing me, they're hearing from me, they can ask me questions. But if you're not comfortable with getting on video, just send them a message every day. But you really want to stay in touch with your staff. That's really, really important.
Yeah, Evelyn, that was super valuable. I really appreciate you offering that for us. So next, we're going to have Anna from the Buffalo Zoo Preschool. And I'm going to ask everyone who's not Anna to mute their microphones and turn off their video just for the time being, so we can focus on Anna there.
Hello.
Hey, Anna, how's it going?
I think great. That was a great two speakers so far. I think they answered everything, so you don't need me.
You're not going to wait, obviously. So funny.
Okay.
It's really come full circle for me to have Anna join us on this webinar because she's one of the ECs that I have the opportunity to work with pretty closely. And funny enough, this is like the first time that we're seeing each other in person, so that's pretty fun.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, since day one of working with Anna, like I knew her passion for early childhood education was really special. And I'm pretty excited for you guys to hear about her interesting childcare business at the Buffalo Zoo. I definitely shamelessly subscribe to the newsletter, and I recommend you guys to do the same because it's so fun. But anyway, enough of me talking. Anna, why don't you share with us a bit about who you are and what you do?
So I am currently the program manager again from the Buffalo Zoo Preschool. I head the program. We have a lot of education programs in the Buffalo Zoo, including the preschool. It's a small program that I do run. And it is a great program. It's a retro-inspired curriculum. It is an emergent curriculum, so our lessons are based from the current interest of the kids and, of course, the animals that we have in the zoo, which I am now missing so much because every day we go outside and do our walks. And and I stayed in contact with the keepers, of course, because that's a huge part of our program. I also serve as an adjunct faculty at Buff State, so it's well-rounded because I do talk to the student teachers too about their challenges and being able to apply that whole team into action of serving the children and families.
Absolutely. Yeah, your platform is so interesting, how you teach all the developmental skills that kids need during those formative years with real life animals, you know, you were mentioning before in a call where you were teaching a very abstract concept of sort of echolocation, but with real bats as the example. So how cool is that? Is your childcare open or closed right now?
It is closed right now. We close, this will be the second week because we're running a module 2 online. So yeah, we're close, but we're continuing our classes online, and we post lesson plans on HiMama.
I love it.
Yeah.
With such an interactive program, you know, you're going from making food for polar bears to running everything online. I'm really curious to know how you've been adjusting to running your program virtually, because that's a huge switch.
Right. So we are very responsive to our families. The huge challenge is really not doing the lesson plans, but being able to see their behaviors and their emotions, and how can you react to that accordingly. But what we're doing is that for the first lesson of modules that I did is to kind of like just observe what the children are doing in the photos that the parents are giving me. And I look at the lesson plan because I usually plan 1 week ahead. And I tell myself I can continue doing this, you know. And so I reach out to the keepers if they can feature the animals that we wanted to visit. And currently, right now, we are doing our seed project. So with the center being closed, I ask the education staff to record, for instance, a compost activity for the kids. So now they're making their own compost bin at their own homes. And that helps a lot with the children getting busy, but at the same time being grounded and knowing what's going on. So for each day, we also focus on, there's a good book that just shared by NAEYC on Something Strange Happened to My City by Dr. Yen. So that allows the parents to talk about what social distancing social distancing is, and what that meant to kids. How can they help battle the virus? And that is simply washing their hands and understanding that, you know, they can't see their friends, but there are other ways that they can do that, like writing a letter, calling their friends over the phone. In terms of our enrichment, our animal enrichment, I still stay in touch with the keepers. It's a lot of work when you're doing an emergent curriculum, because you wanted to make it authentic as much as possible by reaching out to the people that they are familiar with. One of my parents, which is a chemist too, which we have in the program, she is scheduled to have a visit to talk about rainbows because it's now spring, and of course children love the rainbows. So she videoed herself talking about rainbows and how we can make rainbows out in our own backyard. So having the families participate and seeing familiar faces brings that continuity of learning. And I feel like it's not stopping us from doing so, because of all those community helpers that are helping us in our program, which is very empowering and inspiring. So based on the pictures that the parents are showing me on HiMama, that's how I continuously develop the lessons, and then reaching out to community on how we can provide that quality service still for our families. So right now they're very happy, and it's just overwhelming to see the responses, and it's just a great program, and we continue to strive for the kids.
That's so cool. I'm really loving your approach with taking such a kind of a spooky topic to talk about with kids, and breaking it down into things like storybooks and one-on-one conversations that really tackle the root of what's going on right now in such a way that actually makes sense for them. So it's really cool to hear. I know actually in one of our calls you had mentioned that you were trying to keep the parents and the families kind of connected, even in this time of social distancing. Can you maybe speak to that a little bit as well?
Like ways on how they can tackle social distancing?
More specifically, you had told me that you were sharing photos with other kids in the center as well and stuff like that. If you want to go about that.
Yeah, so there are lessons on HiMama, and so I didn't even know that the parents always look that up. Thank goodness, I always do my lessons ahead of time. So every day, each week, they would look it up on the lessons, and then right now I'm creating a module, like detailed directions for each of those days in each lesson plan. And then what parents does is that they take pictures of their child. For instance, yesterday is Create Your Own Holiday. And the story of the day is Turkey Trouble. Online Storyline has great stories that have lessons to it, just like what I do on my typical day. I read the lessons to them and then I tell them what the lessons are, and it's all detailed on their daily report. So yesterday they created their own holiday, and parents took pictures of that. Like, let's say one of my child wanted to have a baby doll day. And so taking pictures of that allows for me to even assess them online, because I can see the growth and the developmental skills that they are doing, such as, doing one-on-one correspondence or even writing their names when they wanted to create a rainbow out of their names. So by taking photos, the parents are now doing my job in doing that end. And it just shows how our partnership is that strong. And I know that Evelyn had mentioned something about relationships. It's true. Once you build that relationship right off the bat, the parents are there to help you. It should not be a one-man job. Parents are there, they are experts. And with them taking photos, each time I see that online, it just brings joy to me. And I feel at peace that they're okay and they're busy, and making sure that the parents know that those activities are not like an activities that's supposed to be dumping and adding pressure to them. It's supposed to be there to provide structure for their day and bring meaning to whatever it is that they're doing. So by taking those photos, I was able to know what skills that they're working on, what things that they're learning about, and the new things that they're trying to invent out of those investigations, especially with science. That is something that is trying to, I feel like it's dying in our end, because we don't really focus on our environment anymore. And, simple things just such recycling. My kiddos are very in tune with that. And maybe this is the time to really look at our environment and see what we can do outside. And, recycling things and making things out of recyclables are another project that children and families can do. And that's how they are doing it, by looking at, so after I receive those photos, I also make a collage at the end of the week, and then I share that to everybody, especially to those that can't do it, because some of them are struggling with different things, but I try to be flexible and add it to the end of the week. That's how they get to see what everyone is doing, and the parents are very appreciative of that because they can still see their friends. Last week, I think that was Tuesday, I tried to just come up with a chat with each of the families and kids, and I get to see them on FaceTime. And, it's great to be able to see and know that they are okay.
I love what you're doing with engaging parents and having maintaining that community structure, especially in a time that's harder than ever, really. So kudos to you. That's so cool. I guess because you're obviously pretty well equipped, or so it sounds, to work remotely with parents, do you have any tips for our ECEs who are working to get adjusted or preparing to get adjusted to work remotely?
I think Evelyn and Marnie did such a great job in summarizing the tips for everybody. I just wanted to highlight self-care, because as a field that always gives, we also have to take care of ourselves. And if we don't do that, then it's hard for us to give back. And I know for one, we've been reading this book in my class called Fostering Resilient Learners. And it talks about how we have to use our upstairs brain more than our downstairs brain. So our upstairs brain are our prefrontal cortex. When we use that upstairs brain, we can think logically and not get our emotions get in the way. And with always using that in our lives, we can take deep breaths, and focus on what we need to take care right here, right now. Just be mindful of what is the problem right now, and don't overthink things, because once you do that, then your whole brain will just shut down, and you're not going to be productive and helpful to the children and the families that you serve in. Plus, we all have our families. We need to balance our time and serve as an inspiration to anyone. Today, I just received a letter from one of my parents because yesterday, his daughter played hopscotch out on the sidewalk, and there's this huge mural on the ground, and it's like it's a mosaic, beautiful work of art. And I asked him, did you guys make that? And he said that no, it's one of our neighbors. He's a gym teacher, and he made this mural hopscotch, and in each color you get to do a different activity. And I told him that, what a great way to inspire someone, because for me, that is inspiring. For you to be able to be creative in this time of crisis, I think we just have to, again, change that mindset into thinking that this is the time to be positive and be creative and be inspiring to other people. And for me, that is just an inspiration. And we need to keep each other in that kind of mode to be an inspiration to others, and just take care of ourselves so that we can give our best.
That's a beautiful message. We have a question from the audience here. Do you, first of all, would you mind repeating the book name that you mentioned for the audience? I think some people...
Sure. I actually have it here because I really love reading this book for myself. It's called Fostering Resilient Learners by Christine Sowers. And I can also give that to you as a reference once you summarize everything. And it's basically saying that I know that we should have a psychology background as teachers, right? But since we don't have those kinds of resources in our hands, our focus more is to provide that loving and nurturing environment for kids. And the kids model us for how we react to this thing. So if we feel like, oh my gosh, the house is on fire, then imagine how the kids will react too when we can't even, hold ourselves together. So this book is just such an inspiration to be focused on our upstairs brain. And I'm glad to share that with you.
That's an awesome resource. I see another question here. So do you have advice to for parents to help them talk through the COVID essentially with their kids, as well as the change in routine that comes with that?
Yeah. So yes, I do. Actually, it's in my lesson plan. So this week we are talking about transforming our job classrooms to their jobs at home. So they made a job chart at home, and each day I gave them a task. And even the parents are funny because they said, Miss Anna wants you to make your bed today. And then the following day, you have to fold your clothes. And of course, those life skills have their appropriateness for each age. I also gave that to them. 3 years old, these are the appropriate life skills. 4 is this. And so every day I give them a task to do, and they showed me their chart at home, and they would put stars each day they do that. So that is just a simple way of, having them participate and be empowered, because they do matter in their own learning. And when they see that, it boosts their self-confidence. And so that's just one of the suggestions. And then also that book that I gave you, Dr. Yen wrote this appropriate book for kids on what social distancing is and what they can do to help with not spreading the germs. And when I talked to my kids that last day that we saw each other, they know what that virus is. One of my kids said, "We know, Miss Anna, we know why we can't see each other for 2 weeks," showing their hands up. And it's because there's a virus going around. It will make us very sick. And, we just have to play along with how the kids think, through play, through reading social stories. And they love the animals. Once you read them books about animals, they would really jump into that mode. It's just how they think. And you have to just make it appropriate for them so that they get it. And they do. They will say, I have to wash my hands. I should not touch my face. And after I play. So the parents are on board with that. I think they're just sad to not see their grandparents. And they tell me that when they do visit each other, their grandparents are either in the car or just handing out something outside the window. So those parents are, telling me those stories and how to, being able to regulate their children's emotions if they're sad. And I told them that all feelings are not an accident. If they're sad, they're sad, and let them cry if they needed to cry. That is a healthy way of describing their emotions, because if you're just not going to validate that, I think this is the perfect opportunity to know what feelings are and what can we do. How can we respond to those feelings that are appropriate in an appropriate way?
Yeah, that's a great opportunity. I'm getting some questions here about your program. Forgive me if I butchered the pronunciation. Reggio Inspired
Yeah.
Approach. Could you give us some more context on what that looks like?
So Reggio inspired curriculum or philosophy. It is an EC model. So I do teach curriculum for young children at Pop State, and there's several EC models such as Waldorf, if you've heard of that, and creative curriculum and high scope for Head Start. So Reggio is it's more of a mindset. It's just saying that we need to work together as not just a community, a healthy community that cares about children. And being healthy means to say that we should all be responsible for our own decisions to make it work for the kids. So in order for us to have healthy kids, we need to have healthy community. And it's more of involving grandparents and parents be visiting experts in your classroom. Involving the library, the firefighters, the community out there, for the children to know that we have superheroes in our community and we should invite them in their classroom and share that. I think that is a wonderful feature of Reggio, and that it's child-led. The children needs to be the leaders of their own learning, and teachers are there as a guide. There's several principles and features to it, but if you're interested, I can guide you to a link to know more about what Reggio is. And it's in Italy, but we're not in Italy. This is the United States. So we try to conform our principles to what we can do in our own community.
Love it. Thank you so much, Anna. This was really amazing. I'm going to invite the rest of our panelists to join us here for a full panel Q&A. Hopefully they hear me there. Hello. Okay, so perfect. So they're on. We are going to hop right into perfect here. That's everyone. So this is from Gwen. So do any of your families receive childcare subsidy to help pay for childcare? Does anyone want to take this one?
I can take this one. I do have about 20% of my families receive subsidy, and subsidy is going to change from state to state. So here in Nevada, we are getting the guaranteed payments regardless of attendance or even withdrawal at this time.
Perfect. Next question from Amanda. Any suggestions for in-home daycares, especially for income when the income is sole source of household income for the daycare? I might have butchered that, but basically she wants any suggestions for in-home daycares.
I'll take that one again if you guys are, but I would say again, focus. It's the same thing, whether you're an in-home provider or a center, you have to look at yourself as a business. You're still a business, whether you're running it outside of your house or in a big center model. Try and figure out a way that you can still provide service. So even if you jump on camera, you can get a free Zoom account and read to the children, still interact with the children. You can do music time with the children and ask your parents. This is the time for us to be transparent and honest. Ask the parents, I need to pay my bills too. If I charge you, X amount of money, you can have your children on, even if it's just Monday, Wednesday, Friday, from this time to this time, and I will still provide preschool curriculum for them. So same mindset goes for the in-home as would be for a center base. You got to think like a business owner and really shift that mindset and look for the gaps.
Love it. So Carmen's going to help us out here with Q&A. Carmen, take it away.
Yeah, so for the next question, we have Tiffany in the audience, and she's asking for all the panelists, if any employees exposed and they test positive for COVID, what happens to their salary? Do you have any protocol for your school? And there's obviously no right or wrong answer, but yeah, if Marnie and Evelyn, you can jump in on this. Oh, Marnie, I think you need to turn your mic on.
Okay,
Yeah,
sorry.
perfect.
So if somebody has been exposed, for the safety of everybody, CDC is recommended that that person cannot come back, right, for 14 days, I believe, to work. So I believe there's a huge, we have to be in tune with what's going on in Congress. They just approved a big relief loan, and that's the best way that we can answer to the teachers. There are going to be some relief packages coming our way to the early childhood industry, at least here in the United States. So we have to be on the look for that. They have not gone into effect, but that's what I would recommend. Just stay on top. Tell the teachers that they cannot come to work, because you have to protect the entire school community, and then that you will research and be on top of the new laws and packages, relief packages coming our way.
For sure. And Evelyn, do you have any comments to weigh in on it?
I would really caution owners out in the United States right now, because with Congress passing so many new laws right now, the previous one that has already been passed is the FMLA. And so we really have to be careful right now, because there are provisions that may mandate that we have to pay them for, I believe it's 14 days, but I'm not 100% sure. So I would definitely look into that just to be sure. But we really need to, even if you're looking for a really good vetted website on HR information, or right now would be a good time to even join some kind of HR membership online that can give you legal information right now. So we've got to really be careful with that right now, because in certain situations, we may actually have to pay them for the time off. So just want to caution everybody on that one.
And I have a question from Stacy in the audience here, and she said that she has verified with an attorney that she cannot charge tuition while closed unless you've specifically stated in your contract that you've accounted for this situation. So how do you balance the whole contract and rallying communities and accepting donations instead of tuition? Have you guys faced this? Any input there?
Well, so I'll step in. I think under these unprecedented circumstances, I know that there's a contract, there's a 2 weeks notice, but like, for example, in our contract, there was nothing mentioned about a holding fee, right? So I think that's when you have to become flexible and appeal to the parents and be honest with them. If you provided an outstanding services, and if they still have jobs, they should be able to contribute something, so that then when everything goes back to normal, they can go and enjoy your services again. So I would talk to the parents, appeal, tell them why you need that to cover your expenses, and make exceptions. I think this is a time where we all have to make exceptions.
Yep, and I think the key thing is open communication from the whole business, like childcare business owner community. It's just really keeping your status open with your parents, understanding where they're coming from, and just being emphatic both ways and working together as a community. And yeah, what Marnie said was right. We are facing unprecedented circumstances, and exceptions are definitely key. There are no right or wrong decisions, just decisions and moving forward. We have a question from Danielle. She said, for open schools, how are you handling teacher attendance? If someone's out, do you have replacement teachers? How does that work for you guys?
So that
Evelyn,
was
do you have?
yeah, that is where I came up with my substitute teacher. I immediately, even before my state was shut down, I went into just like a defensive mode, and I did actually reach out to a couple different nonprofits that normally would work in the situation, and teachers that might need a job, like just want to stay active right now. And I did set up a substitute line of people, and I've even reached out to like college students who are now, and even you can look at high schoolers. Most of them aren't in school right now, and they are available. So getting them started now on the vetting process to make sure that they can come into your centers is a great idea, and have them lined up and ready. And I focused on people who I knew were either not working for some reason or who don't normally work, like high schoolers, for example, or college students that aren't. Those were great to have in just in case of an emergency.
And then if I may add, in our case, so what we did is like we caught everybody's hours. So you went from you went from having full shifts to having maybe half shifts, or we tried to keep everybody with 30 hours every week. So that means that they all want to work more hours, right? So we work on scheduling like that, and if we see that somebody's going to be missing, then we can arrange that and work with another teacher that wants to have that the full hours.
Awesome. And we have Susan from the audience who said when she was open and they had less kids and sent some staff home, they were actually allowed to use their sick or vacation days to cover their hours. So that's another way to keep your staff in mind. And one last question, since we are kind of going over time, and this is amazing content, everyone. How do you guys work with parents who are panicking? That's kind of a big question that we're getting from both the educator side as well as the director and owner side.
I think that's when it's really important to have a plan in place. And so the strategic plan that I've created, it's an infectious disease strategic plan. And I literally just one weekend went and wrote down all the questions that I've been asked, and I wrote down the fears that I personally had and my family have. And I created a plan around that. And that is just something that now I can hand it to my parents, I can hand it to my staff, and they can see that I've pretty much thought about a lot of scenarios. Now, this is new to all of us, so things change every day right now. So last week, I was literally adding to it every single day. But what I've noticed is it's making my parents feel a lot more confident, knowing that I have a plan, that it's all spelled out, the steps, the scenarios, it's in writing, and I can hand it to them, is making my parents and my staff feel like I am in command of the situation and I'm in control. And it's really relieving a lot of anxiety. It also helps us not to have to answer the same questions over and over and over, giving them that plan. So I actually have created an outline of the plan that I can share with you guys. And basically, it's just an outline that everybody can go in and fill it in on their own. So they can make it their own and customize it to your personal needs.
That's awesome.
So on that note, everyone, we're going to wrap up the session. I just wanted to extend thank you to all the panelists for taking time out of your busy days and spending it with us and connecting with the community. Also, we will be linking to all the resources that the panelists have shared, as well as our COVID hub. And we will be running another session at the same time next week on Friday that's all about remote learning. So to help us serve you better, just please do the survey that I'll be sending over in the email and give us feedback. What do you want to learn about? What do you think we could have done better? And let us grow together and support each other through this. And any closing comments and words of encouragement from the panel before we sign off here?
I would just really encourage everybody this weekend to take care of themselves. Just make sure that you're using the weekend
Evelyn,
to take care of yourself. Is that better?
For sure. Self-care is key.
Okay. Yes. So
Yes.
just take care of yourself and, make sure you take time for you and your family.
And we will go through this together as a community. I think we just have to keep ourselves focused on the future, and keep each other accountable on having the mindset that we will go through this no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
And Anna, any words?
Yeah, and for me, just continue that relationship and be transparent to your parents. They need you and you need each other. You're not alone on this. We are in this together, just like what everybody's saying on the chat board. And thank you for all your questions. And I will send those books and to Carmen or
Thank you
Awesome.
everyone for tuning in.
thanks so much.
Thanks for tuning in, everyone, and we will see you in your inboxes. And thanks so much to our panelists. Have a good one.
Take care.
Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Yeah. Bye.